going on, you hardcore photography geeks? It's Sam, and I am back with you today. And that, of course, is the Hasselblad X-Pan, one of the most amazing cameras that I have ever used, and a camera that I alluded to at the end of the last posting. And actually, I've alluded to it a few times on other videos, so promises made, promises kept, more to go. But first I just want to tell you I'm also trying out a new rig here, and I don't know if you guys can see the difference or hear the difference, but I hope you can. You know, I thought I could get by just on the content of my character, but I guess you guys wanted more quality. You guys are a tough crowd, but I do thank you, and I am going to give it to you, so we're going to keep trying. But right now, let's talk about the star of our show, the Hasselblad X-Pan. Now, the Hasselblad X-Pan was introduced in 1998, and it is a collaborative effort between Hasselblad of Sweden and Fujifilm of Japan. Who did what has always been a subject of conjecture. Now, if you look right here, it actually says made in Japan, so this tells you right here that it's made by Fujifilm. Is that Fujifilm built these cameras because they have their own version, which is the TX1. Also, I just want to say there is also a Hasselblad X-Pan 2 and a Fuji TX2, which are both updated versions of this camera with some minor improvements. But for this review, I am only going to be talking about the Hasselblad X-Pan original and the 45mm f4 lens. Okay, so why don't we cut to the chase? Let's go and take a look at the basic operations and controls of the Hasselblad X-Pan. Alright you guys, let's take a closer look at the controls and basic operations of the Hasselblad X-Pan. Alright, so first things first, the Hasselblad X-Pan is a rangefinder camera, so it's in that way it works very much like a Leica or any other rangefinder, with a patch inside, and when you focus it, once the patches come together, you are in focus. So it works like that, and as a lot of people have said, it actually looks like an elongated Leica M camera. Now right here on the front here, you see a film speed dial. You have DX all the way up to ISO 3200. Now let's take a look at the top. Okay, at the top you see the nice shutter speed dial right there. Goes all the way to 1/1000th of a second, and of course you have automatic bulb exposure compensation right here. The on and off switch, you can go from here to single, continuous, and self timer. Shutter release, as you can see, is blinking empty because I don't have film in there right now, because I wanted to show you guys this right here. Okay, now this right here is the beauty of the Hasselblad X-Pan. As you can see right here, that's the beautiful 24mm by 65mm panoramic frame. Now, the Hasselblad X-Pan was also touted as a dual format camera. In fact, in the Hasselblad brochure, it actually says this is the world's first dual format camera. And what that means is that at any time, as long as you have film inside the camera, and as long as you have enough film, you can switch from the panoramic frame to a standard 35mm frame. So keep an eye on this, and to do that switch you have to press this in and bring it down. And can you see it? Now you have a standard 35mm frame. So why would you want to use that on a camera like the Hasselblad X-Pan? Well, to be honest with you, you probably wouldn't want to use it most of the time, but I can see certain situations, and I have been in certain situations where, let's say you're on the street in tight quarters, and when you're in that situation, you want a regular frame. And the great thing about it is that you can do that with this camera. Alright, so now that you know a little bit about how the camera works, let's take a look at a few samples taken with the Hasselblad X-Pan, and after that we'll come back and discuss the optical quality, the prices, and whether or not you should be getting a Hasselblad X-Pan. Alright, so in my opinion, the optical quality, just based on the 45mm f4 lens alone, I would say the image quality is superb. The images are very crisp, sharp, and also high contrast. High contrast, high sharpness, in my book, you can't lose. Now, I've never tried the 30mm lens or the 90mm, but if they are consistent with the 45mm, there's not really much more you can ask from this system. The lenses are top-notch. Okay. Also, if you look on the samples, you can see one thing that sets the Hasselblad X-Pan apart from a lot of lower-priced panoramic cameras, and that is the lack of distortion. Very little distortion. Really nothing to complain about. You get none of that zigzag that you get from the more fun panoramic cameras, which in and of itself has a bit of a charm, but after a while you get tired of that zag going around, curving film. You guys know what I'm talking about. Anyway, very straight, true panoramics, and so that's one of the great strengths of the Hasselblad X-Pan. Okay, so let's discuss price. Now, you guys may have a hard time believing this, but I picked this camera up in 2012 for $1,050, camera and lens. Even then, it was lower than what the going price was. So it's all about timing, guys. I mean, there was a Steve Winwood song. It says, "While you see a chance, take it," and that's what I did. I mean, I've always wanted a Hasselblad X-Pan. I wasn't sure I would really like panoramic pictures, but at that price I said, you know what? I had the money at the time. Let's give it a try. And it's not like I'm rich or anything. Sometimes I don't have the money and I see deals and I can't get it, but at that time everything was in place. The planets were in alignment, and as I said, while you see a chance, take it. So if any of you guys are looking for this camera, I hate to tell you that today in 2019 the prices have gone up tremendously. So if you're looking for a Hasselblad X-Pan, what I say is you're going to face a Contax T2 Conundrum. That's what I call it. And by that what I mean is this is also an electronics camera from the 1990s. It's also in high demand relative to how few are actually out on the market. So plus the resurgence of film has also made more people look out for these old classics, and it's driving the prices up. The same thing as the Contax T2, there are some issues also. Since it is an older electronics camera, there's a possibility that if something were to go wrong with it, it would be a costly repair, or it might even be unrepairable. So you have to keep that in mind. If you are looking for one of these, the prices are trending now between $2,500 to $3,500, and maybe more depending on the body, the lens, condition, etc. But I see the average prices seems to be between $2,500 to $3,000 for the Hasselblad body and the 45mm f4 lens. Now if you're looking for the Fuji equivalent, the TX1 or the TX2, I hate to tell you this again, but just because it has the Fuji label, the prices are not actually lower. They're actually comparable, and that's simply because of the uniqueness of the camera. So at this point, get whichever one that you can at the best price. But before you spend that money, I want you to think of one thing, okay? Now, before you plunk down that good change on a Hasselblad X-Pan or a TX1 or TX2 or Hasselblad X-Pan 2, you need to ask yourself one thing. First of all, let me say, in my opinion, the Hasselblad X-Pan is quite possibly the greatest panoramic camera ever made. So if you really want the Hasselblad X-Pan, as I said, it may be the greatest panoramic camera ever made, but that's the caveat. The greatest panoramic camera. So how much do you actually like shooting panoramics? Think about it and be serious. Now, alternatives, I could mention a lot of alternatives, but I just don't have the time today. But one easy alternative really is using your phone. Now I know real photographers hate using their phones because it doesn't give them a lot of props, but I'll have to be honest, I've used the panoramic mode on a few iPhones, iPhone 5, iPhone 6s, iPhone X, and they are all excellent. And the detail is actually quite amazing. So if you do not want to pay the high prices for the X-Pan, you can easily live with the panoramics off your phone if you can forgive the fact that it's from your phone and that it's digital. And there's really nothing wrong with digital or the phone quality these days, but there's still a lot of stigma behind that. Now, as far as price goes, there is one personal point that I would like to talk about. Now, over the years, a lot of people have said to me, Samster, you little sumbitch, how do you get to play with so many great camera legends? How do you afford them? And you know, I'm not a rich man, you know, but there's a method to my madness, and I'll tell you about because when people ask me that question, it's a perfectly legitimate question, but it's a little bit offensive in a way, and I want to tell you why. Because how do I afford cameras like the Hasselblad X-Pan? Well, first of all, you gotta work, son. I mean, there's no way around it, okay? Unless you're rich or you just won the lottery or you had a big inheritance, you gotta work. There's no way around it. But the second thing I want to say is that before you ask me that, why don't you ask the 15-year-olds on YouTube, the 20-year-olds, how they afford those super expensive cameras that they're reviewing? Now, I know a lot of them get sent the cameras by the manufacturers, but a lot of them also seem like they bought it on their own or somebody gave it to them. So before you ask me, and I'm an older guy, ask them, and then if you get an answer, come back and ask me, okay? Thanks a lot. Alright, with over such a long video, I even had time to get a new look. What you think? Anyway, thank you guys so much for watching. I do appreciate you. Don't forget to like, subscribe for more videos on cool and interesting camera legends like the Hasselblad X-Pan. And there are many more coming your way. And feel free to leave a comment. And don't forget, this is the place where the cameras are the legends and I am just a peon. So take whatever I said with a grain of salt and do as you wish. And I will catch you guys next time on the CameraLegend.com YouTube channel.